That's better. Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
That was Laura.
Okay. Should we start soon? I think if I switch it, I see other people.
All right, we have one more person joining, and I'm showing 2 minutes until, and I've got us running on YouTube. So, Pamela comes on. Hi, Pamela.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, for those of you joining us, Jeff Owens is the chair of the Village Review Board. We're live on YouTube, and the meeting will start in like 1 minute. So, Pam, your case is the second one we're going to hear.
Okay.
So, hang out until that point. Also, we have Rick Martin also speaking tonight, and he's the third case that we'll be discussing.
And John Lent is not able to make it. Hi, Pam.
Who just said hi?
Hi, guys.
Ah, there's John.
Of the opening of the Brady Bunch for some reason.
Almost there. All right, Jeff, I show 6 o'clock. You can start the meeting whenever you want.
Very good. We will call the meeting to order and we'll ask for roll call.
Mr. Camp,
Here.
Ms. Bowersock. You have to unmute yourself. Should be on the left.
Here.
There we go. Mrs. Greenwood. Here. Mrs. McGill.
Here.
And Chairman Owen.
Here. Very good. With that, we'll call for an approval for the minutes of our last meeting on June 9th. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting. Sorry, I don't remember the date.
It was June
June
9th.
9th.
Thank you.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Hey, any conversation, changes, additions, or we good as is?
Good? Okay. A motion was made by Mrs. McGill to approve the minutes from the June 9th, 2020 Village Review Board meeting, and this was seconded by Mrs. Greenwood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. Moving on, seeing no old business, we'll move on to new business. First one would be the Village Review Board 20-89, multiple signs for 115 East Franklin Street. You
So
ready
I know.
for your summary.
So I noticed on the agenda that we messed up a couple of items. So the accessory structure at the bottom that says 2089 and 2090, that should say 2075. And the top here should be 2089. The one we're currently going to address should be 2089 and 2090. So I'll go ahead and start. The request is to replace the existing wall and projecting signs with new ones where the pre-existing signs are located. The property is 115 East Franklin Street. The property owner is Lisa Fannin. The original signs were approved by the Village Review Board in July of 2012. The proposed projecting sign is 2.41 square feet per side for a total of 4.82 square feet. The height would be 60 inches. The material is Dibond, which is an aluminum composite. The proposed wall sign is 19.3 square feet with a height of 70 inches. And again, construction of Dibond material, which is aluminum composite. The signs meet all regulations. That's my summary.
Okay, very good. And thank you again. These are really great, what you're sending us. Big
You're welcome.
improvement. Yep. Okay, any questions?
So these are in the same place. They're not being moved. It's just replaced.
Correct.
Have any comments from the property owner?
No, they called earlier this week and asked if they had to be here, and I told them that they did not, and they chose not to come. So,
Okay, fair enough. Very good. Okay, any questions or motions?
A motion to approve the signs.
Okay. And is there a second?
I second it.
Very good. If no further discussion, then we'll,
All right, a motion was made by Mr. Camp to approve VRB case, that's 89 and 90.
correct.
VRB cases 20-89 and 20-90, multiple signs for 115 East Franklin Street. And this was seconded by Mrs. Bowersock. Mr. Camp,
Aye.
Mrs. Bowersock,
Yes, I agree.
Mrs. Greenwood,
Yes.
You said yes, Pam.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Sorry. Mrs. McGill
Yes.
and Chairman Owen.
yes.
That passed.
Very good. Moving on to Village Review Board 20-73, ground sign for 80 East Franklin.
Okay, so the request is to install a ground sign on the property located at 80 East Franklin Street using the existing sign structure. The applicant is Pamela, I'm going to butcher her last name, Jeltema. The property owner is Matthew and Molly McConnell. The size of the sign is 20 square feet per side for a total of 40 square foot. The sign height is 6 feet from the ground to the top of the sign. The sign itself is 5 feet in height and 4 feet wide. The material is wood and it's located approximately 10 feet from the right of way, and the sign meets all regulations. And that's the summary for this one as well.
Okay, very good. Anything from the property owner?
Not really. We're replacing a sign that apparently was already in there.
Okay. Well, it's a nice looking sign, I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you. You can thank Ernie for that.
Very good. All right. Any questions for the property owner or staff on this?
Hey, Pam, are both these signs going to be out there or just, because I've got two different signs. Are they both going to the same spot where that is?
They're on both sides, right?
Yeah, they're both sides.
Yeah.
It's only one, there's only going to be one sign. He submitted 2 designs.
Okay, that's where I got confused.
It's
So
going to
which
be
one is it? So which one is it?
I think it's going to be my Grace and Love Cakes LLC with the line and my phone number.
Okay. Well, I had no problem with it. I just couldn't figure out why I had 2 different signs.
Yeah, because we hadn't made up our mind yet, which would look
Okay.
better.
Now I got it.
Very good. Any other questions?
Are you gonna put a light on the ground or anything to illuminate the sign, or is it just as is?
No, there is electricity in place and we will be illuminating the sign. It'll also illuminate the flag that we keep there too, so that's nice.
I think it looks nice.
Anyone else? All right. Is there a motion?
I motion that we approve Pam's sign.
I second the motion.
Good. We have a motion and a second. If no further conversation, we'll
A motion was made by Mr. Camp to approve BRB case 20-73, a ground sign at 80 East Franklin. This was seconded by Mrs. Greenwood. Mr. Camp,
Yes.
Mrs. Greenwood, Mrs. Bowersock,
Yes.
Mrs. McGill,
Yes.
Chairman Owen.
yes. Very good. Our motion passes, and we will move on to the Village Review Board 20-89, 20-90, accessory structure at 7 West Frank.
It's actually 20-75. We messed that up. That's my fault. I'm sorry. So this one's a little bit more complicated just because the way our zoning code is, this is not the applicant's fault. This is particularly the code's fault. So it's going to be a little bit lengthy here, and I do apologize. You're going to have to bear with me. But the request is to place a small accessory structure in the front of the building. The intent of this structure is to distribute free art from the accessory structure. The applicant's name is Greg Dart. The applicant's address is 7 West Franklin Street, Bellbrook, Ohio. The property owner is Greg Dart himself. The accessory structure is 43 inches wide, 60 inches in length, and approximately 17.9 square feet. The material is wood with a glass door. From what I could tell, the accessory structure is essentially a repurposed doghouse. The location would be, of course, in the front of the building on the sidewalk, which would be in the public right-of-way. Mounting, so when they had the accessory structure originally mounted, it was on wheels and changed to a city bench. So the accessory structure was placed before a permit was submitted and a request was made by the city for the structure for them to remove the structure until a permit was completed. When it was placed, the structure was on wheels and changed to city-owned property, a bench. Our regulations are lacking in addressing these type of issues where other cities directly address it. In normal conditions, the only type of structures allowed in the right-of-way or the sidewalk area are typically trash receptacles, newspaper boxes, street furniture, bike racks, light posts, temporary signs, and items such as that. Staff is currently working on addressing this in updates to Article 14. It should be noted that this structure has been compared to the little free libraries previously approved by the Village Review Board. There are 2 little free libraries in the old Village District. One is located at Bellbrook Park on public land, and the other at the State Farm office on South Main Street. Both are mounted on a post in concrete and in grassy areas of the property. The little free libraries are approximately 4.15 square feet compared to the 17.9 square feet of the proposed accessory structure. The proposed accessory structure is approximately 0.31 times the size of the Little Free Libraries if you use square feet. But if you use cubic feet, in cubic feet, their accessory structure is approximately 95 cubic feet, whereas Little Free Libraries is 6.92 cubic feet. So that makes it about 13.8 times the size of the Little Free Libraries. And cubic feet is a more appropriate size for something like that. Or appropriate measurement, sorry. So staff recommendation is for the structure to be located adjacent to the building in a strip where Dart's building and the property directly west of the building. There's like a little strip there. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So there's DeSalvo's building, and then there's Dart's building, and there's a strip there where they could locate the art box, and it'd be not technically in public right away, and it could be securely mounted. And again, according to County GIS, this is Greg Dart's property. And we believe that for safety reasons, it should be taken off of wheels and be securely mounted in some way. So you should clarify the approved location of the structure, be it in the public right of way, or be it where staff has suggested, and what modifications on wheels mounted for structural and safety purposes. And that is the summary. And again, we brought this to you guys because this is a little bit more complicated for us to really give an approval for, and the village district is kind of your guys' privy.
Is anyone here to talk from the property owner's perspective?
Yes.
Okay.
John Landseidel, who can address these issues. And you'll have to bear with us. We're having a lot of audio breakup on our end. So I'm not sure if you're experiencing audio breakup on your end or not.
Yes.
Can you hear us here?
Yes.
Listening to the breakup audio, I just want to add, it should be duly
Can hear.
noted that the structure was parked on on city property. There's a 6-foot stretch of that walkway that is part of the building proper, and the wheels is so that it could be rolled back into the building when it wasn't being used. That was the point and purpose, rather than fastening it in any way to the and we always have free art to give away because it has to be made, and it's being made, and there isn't any art to supply inside, and there are people in the public that have dropped art off to us to put into the show. But when we get back inside.
I'm sorry, Mr. Landseidel, you completely cut out for most of that. Would it be possible for you to repeat it?
With this, Rick, by holding that down, does that make it clear?
Well, what that does is it opens up our mic.
Okay. Can you hear us now? Was adding from listening to what you were saying, the private property in front of the building, it did not reach the city proper sidewalk, so it didn't block any right of way and anyone walking by back into the property when we didn't have art to give away. And it was also secured so no one could push it down the street. It was locked in 2 different positions, and it also had lock wheels, so it locks in position we didn't want to secure it to the sidewalk in any way. The reason that it's larger than a little free library is that art is generally larger than a book.
Yep.
We give away some pretty large pieces of art. What our purpose was, it was for kids only and just to inspire them to make art themselves.
I have a question. As you look at the building on the far left side, on the east side, like not on the side of the building, but in the front on the far left, there's like a riser, a concrete riser. Could it be put there? I can't hear.
Are you talking about the building at 15 West Franklin?
Oh, I didn't look at the address. I just drove down there and there's like a, yeah, the whole art, that whole art.
Well, that
building
projects out. So this little free art gallery did not, the little free art gallery did not extend out beyond the next building at 15 West.
I just wondered if it could be put on that riser, because that appears to be connected to the building. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, Karen, I know what you're talking about. Jessica, you know, there's like, I don't know if it used to be the opening to a coal bin or something, but you know that.
It's concrete.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know if that used to open down
Let me
in
look at it
one
on County
point.
GIS and I'll.
What's that?
That's
Anyway, yeah, Mr.
access
Landschneider.
to the building. It would not be advisable to put it on that riser because that's access to the building.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I love the little art, that little art building with no art in the school next year. I mean, art can be the soul of a small town and I love it.
I have
Well,
a question.
Can anyone hear me now?
Yeah.
I've been
Well, we were
fixing
hearing you, but
artists
now.
for 40s, the opportunity, it was the opportunity to do it. And so it's a very first in the country.
I have a question.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm lost on, is it art supplies that we're putting in this for kids to make art, or is it pictures of that people have already made art projects that we're putting in this? Because I don't know what is in the little art gallery. Because like
These are all more highly valued.
the little library that's at my yard is books, and I didn't know what was in there. So is it just pieces of art that people can take and put on their wall, or is it art supplies?
Little free art gallery. There are no books.
So they're gallery. So it's a gallery.
And by gallery means not supplies. It's not a little free
Okay, so that's what I was confused on. I thought it was art. I thought you were giving art supplies to
art
kids.
supply store.
We're-
It's a little free
we're
art
giving-
gallery. So that
Okay. That makes sense to me.
I had a few concerns. Do you know how much this thing weighs? Because it looks really top heavy. And having 3 kids will do the goofiest stuff. And I'm trying to imagine a kid pulling up on his bike and deciding to climb on top of it or getting in it. And the base is smaller than the gallery. So if there's a lot of weight that goes in, and I'll talk about that in a minute too, or somebody gets on top and this thing topples over, I mean, we're talking potential, somebody getting hurt, potential lawsuit. I don't know how that affects the owner, the city, that. And then I also have a problem with the door glass. Is it plexiglass? How does a child get in there without climbing in it? I'm just kind of wondering how this thing works because I'm kind of concerned about safety.
Okay. Let me address all of that.
Sorry.
265 pounds. There's no way that you can pull up next to it. We'll give you a test. We'll have a child pull up on his butt
A child or child's.
and climb on it. There's no way it can turn over. The door is plexiglass. We have a lock on it. So it's only opened when I'm in there in the building. So the thought of anyone is just not possible. We'll never do that.
I thought the opening looked kind of small, and I thought there was something way back in the back of it. Some kid's gonna climb in there, and I couldn't tell. It looked like it was glass, and I was gonna ask about why it was locked all the time, because if it's free, then why is it locked? But my first concern, obviously, was kids getting on it, climbing
Lock is
on it,
on it.
you know, that sort of thing. And I got 3 kids, and they climbed everything, trees, you name it. Well, on the roof, I mean, I was.
Well, that you could certainly come down and have a child climb all over it and see that it will never turn over.
Is there any way that the base could be a little bit wider than I mean, it looks really potentially dangerous. It really does. The base is not that big when you look at that compared to the size of the structure. I mean, that's the first thing I saw when I looked at it. That and the chain. I didn't know what the chain was about. So, but we clarified that. And definitely with the wheels, that definitely could be
The base extends out. The base extends out to the size of the building itself.
Yep.
bottom base. I'm talking about the pole part.
And you can see the lock mechanism.
Explain the chain again.
The chain is an extra precaution that no one can roll it away from the building. Seen any sign of this, but I wouldn't want anyone to steal the whole building.
Right.
Jesse, can you clarify in the picture, is that public ground or is that what's going on?
Well, so really that would be up to a surveyor to determine. In all honesty, we're not sure where Dart's property begins and the sidewalk begins. So, like Mr. Landseidel said, it could be that the sidewalk starts X amount of feet and then the public sidewalk starts beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not entirely certain that section of sidewalk isn't the public right of way there. So
You can certainly get any survey and see where the property line ends, but if you see the building behind it, there's no way you can walk through the cinder block, so it doesn't extend out anymore
Right.
than the next front, all the way down the street to the corner.
Plus, I don't think there's, speaking from a legal perspective, I don't think there's any liability issues to the city from private property that that Mr. Landseidel and Mr. Dart would be willing to sign some sort of indemnification or something like that.
That the little libraries are embedded in concrete. They're not going to go anywhere. This thing is not going to be, from what I understand, embedded in any concrete, right? This
correct.
is
And it's also chained to a city bench.
about the city bench stuff. I don't know why something is chained to a city bench, but I mean, that's not for stabilization.
The city, if that is a city bench, I thought it was a Boosters Club bench, but if the city bench is on private property,
They were donated, they become property of the city. I'm talking about the benches.
those benches put on private property.
They're maintained by the city. I mean, it could be moved. We could move the benches.
I keep looking at it and wondering how anybody would really access whatever art was in the back of that thing.
Yeah,
I have long arms, but I don't know if I could reach it.
I'm saying a child would have to climb in there. These are
No,
more-
it's not that tall. It's not that tall.
not tall.
It is not that tall. A child could reach it easily.
In the
Jesse,
back,
So we
Jesse,
had
can you go
permission-
over the dimensions again?
Do what?
Can you run over the dimensions of this thing again?
Yeah, so we had permission to place the bench by Mr. Dart
Okay.
on the property. So the size of the structure is, the height is 64 inches tall. It is 60 inches in length, and it is 43 inches wide.
So from the front to the building, it's 5 foot. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. And then 3.5 foot easy across the front. And then almost 6 foot.
It's approximately 5.33 feet tall.
are there stilts in
That's
there?
that's not where the door is, though. That's just where the roof is. So
Right.
Yeah.
Only about 5 feet.
Are there shelves in there? I can't, the way the picture, it looks like there's a couple of lines that could possibly shelf inside.
Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
If you saw art clear to the back, the door was clearly locked. So when it would be opened, the art would be up to the front for an easy access to pull the pieces out. So if you went by and you saw the art clear to the back, you may have noticed the lock would also be locked. So anytime the art is free to be given away, the art will be up to the front, not clear to the back, because no child has that long of arms.
Right.
Just to add to it, very easily, this concrete, just like the benches are. But the reason it wasn't, so that we could roll it back into the building if need be.
And the wheels
There are no
lock,
shelves inside,
right? The wheels lock. You can lock the wheels.
correct.
So as far as pushing it over further towards the other building, is that something you feel is a problem?
Well, be visible. You couldn't see it if it was over next to the other building.
Gotcha.
Now I'm confused. It's not going in between the two buildings. It's going to sit out on the sidewalk in the front. I thought it was going to go between the two buildings.
So staff has recommended that it go between the two buildings, but it's being requested that it be set in front of the way you see it now for visibility, if I've explained that right.
Mhm.
yeah, staff's recommendation was to place it between the two buildings. The request by the applicant was to place it in the front where they had previously placed it.
But currently, that doesn't meet the criteria that the ordinance already has, right?
Correct. Currently, normally in a situation, accessory structures aren't permitted in front yards and especially in situations where it's potentially around what is considered the right of way. I would assume that it would be expressly prohibited, but this is a extraordinary circumstance where it is a different type of accessory structure in that it is potentially beneficial to the community. So it's a tough call. So
Is there any way it could be chained to the building?
Can you hear me? Can you folks hear us?
Yes,
Yes.
can it be chained to the building? Is there like something you could put on the building to chain it? If
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It can be up
I have
there,
a
next to the
question.
old island.
I have a
But
question.
I might add, the same structure was outside of this building for 6 years as an advertisement.
Yeah,
for
it
dark
was.
Construction. It's the
It
same
was.
building.
I
that sat
remember
there for
that.
6 years.
Yeah.
I just simply updated it and put the signs on the side, little free art gallery.
Yeah, I remember it. It was there.
So it had already been.
So I still have a question.
Yes, sir.
If we can take it off wheels and have it so it's mounted onto the concrete, and then you can still lock it and get rid of that chain, then I think it's a fine idea. I don't have a problem with it. I don't like the wheels on it. I don't like it chained to the city bench. But other than that, I don't have a problem with this being where it's at. That's my opinion of this. So if we can get it so it stays there and doesn't move and can't be toppled over, then I have no problem with it, as long as it's not chained to the city bench either.
You broke up real bad. Can we reiterate the points? I apologize.
Yeah, sure. If it was drilled into the ground, no wheels, I think would be fine. And if it can lock, so we don't have to worry about people stealing stuff if it locks at night. And Mr. Lansdowne said it's only open when he's there. He locks it when he's gone. So, in my opinion, and if it's not chained to a city bench, I have no problem with it. Did you hear me that time?
I did hear you, and you're saying that if it could just be secured to the.
Yeah, why if it could be secured to the ground, no chain, because that chain looks tacky.
And not have wheels at all, and I mentioned.
Correct. And you did say that you lock it up every time you leave the place, right?
A whole load of art at night when I wasn't there.
Yeah, you lock it, right? Or you take the art out, correct?
No, I leave the art in it. I lock it.
But you lock it. So to me, it's secure. It's not going anywhere, and it shouldn't be. I don't think it's that big of a problem. I think that what you guys are doing is a good idea. It gives art to the kids. I like it. So I'm okay with it if it's can't be toppled over.
I agree.
Well, if it was fastened down, that certainly would take any concern away from that it might roll on something.
The wheels gotta go.
From a staff perspective, does that create problems that are unknown that you've thought of?
Not necessarily. So again, I'm not 100% sure as to what it should be technically because we're setting a precedent on what gets placed in and around the right of way. So we currently have regulations that you can't sit even a temporary sign within 15 feet of the public right of way, where we're allowing accessory structure closer than that to the public right of way. So not that I don't want this or that I don't think that it's a good idea, because I definitely think that it's a good idea. I just don't know what this leads to in the future, if you get what I'm saying. So I think we have to think about that as well. So that's why we had suggested moving it to the side. And I understand where they're coming from in saying that it might not be seen. So I think that it's the review board's decision, because I can't really say via what the code has to say right now in its current state as what it would address specifically for it, because it doesn't necessarily address that type of structure in the public right of way. So
On a temporary basis, is a sandwich board allowed in the public right of way?
yes.
Does this still then go to BZA and council?
No, a sandwich board sign would go to village review.
No, I
board.
mean, this, if this passed,
No,
but
no.
no.
Because it isn't, so we're not requesting a variance from the code, so.
Okay.
I was kind of thinking the same thing as our Miss Zoner. Far as down the pike, this sets a precedence, and what if some other place, which, I mean, I like it. I wish it wasn't that far in depth, but say the museum wants to have one put in there called Museum in a Minute. They're going to have one. Say the bar on the corner wants to put one out to show the latest imported beers that they're serving. They put the bottles so people can see. They're walking down the street and go, hey, there's a beer there that I really wanted to try, or I can't get anywhere else. Let's go in the bar and have some beer. Or say the garden club decides it would like to promote their plants, and they're going to have a little building, and they're going to put pots and plants in there, and you can go and or read about the plants or pick out some seedlings or whatever. I mean, I know it sounds far-fetched, but there's the potential of these structures going up, and maybe we ought to think about exactly what kind of criteria these things should meet, not only for safety, but I mean, just overall how it's going to look. So I don't know, I don't really feel comfortable making a decision right now until we can discuss what, because you have the libraries, now we have this, you know, we really should have some criteria. I mean, that's my opinion.
Remember, it was sitting out there before. It just wasn't called an
All right,
art
can you hear me
gallery.
again? I think it's unfortunate that we all have to interact this way because I haven't heard half of what you've said. There hasn't been a very fluid conversation here. But if your concern is are going to have structures like this, isn't that your purpose, that each time someone wants a structure, you're going to review it? And this particular structure, Franklin, that right outside the door of a business isn't the sidewalk directly out. So I just can't, I can't imagine that anybody could even have something like this.
Well, by us, so you're correct, we would have to review it. Thusly though, by us approving your structure, that sets the precedent that if someone else wants to place a structure similar to it, we therefore have to approve their structure because we approved your structure. That's what precedent is.
That's not how it works that I know. That's not my understanding of how city government works because we have a structure that somebody else can have a structure.
That's according to law. If they take it to the Court of Appeals, if they take it to a Court of Appeals, the Court of Appeals will say, essentially, you allowed this to happen legally. This person is allowed to have this to happen based on your previous decisions.
Well, that's why
About
it's a good
treating
idea.
everyone fair.
That's why it's a good idea it's on wheels. We can just roll it inside. Takes it that far that they want another structure and it goes against what you're feeling. We'll just roll the thing back inside. It's on wheels and it'll be easy to roll it back in.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all of that.
I just simply said that was the point of it being on wheels. It comes to that somebody else wants that you find objectionable. It's on wheels. We can roll it back inside and call it a day.
We don't find the structure objectionable. So what we're saying is that we have to think ahead for the whole city and the benefit of the whole city. So when we approve structures like this that are so close to the public right of way and the sidewalk and structures in the sidewalk in the public right of way, we have to think about what should and should not be allowed there. And that's all we're saying. So that's what I was addressing to the Village Review Board.
Remember, it was sitting out there for years. It just wasn't called an art gallery.
That
It
doesn't
was
mean-
out there. I remember it.
That doesn't mean that it was out there legally though, so.
And if I may add, working from a legal perspective, if you have a review of every structure that goes, the stare decisis of putting this, approving this structure or the little libraries doesn't really apply, since you're reviewing every single thing on its own merits. And that's how you can fight.
You're breaking up. I couldn't hear any of that.
Okay, it could also, since your policy is to review every structure upon its own merits, whether you have approved 1, 2, or not approved, hold no merit in terms of the Court of Appeals. They'll say every structure gets its own review. So there isn't any precedent that would be set by this, since you're
So it's-
under.
We don't review it based on its own merits. We review it based on the zoning code. So we review it based on a set of rules set by the zoning code. And if we allow a certain thing based on the zoning code, that reflects what we should and should not allow based on that same zoning code. Not based on the individual structure's merits.
Certainly,
It's the same as whether or not we allow digital signs in downtown. We specifically, in our code, we specifically should not allow digital signs, but there has been a precedent set where digital backlit signs have been allowed. But if you read the zoning code, that is in fact not allowed. It's strictly prohibited. But in the past, people have misinterpreted the zoning code, and as such, the signs have been slipped through and approved.
So if this was in the location not in front of the building, and then was accompanied by a sandwich board for marketing and promoting it to the residents, would that solve the problem at all?
From my
The first
perspective,
part, but if I figure out what you may have said, the point and purpose of it being out front is I can keep an eye on it. When I'm there, I can visually see if,
Mhm.
Right.
so if it's anywhere else, I can't see it.
Is it possible that it could be smaller?
Not for the size of free art that I give away. I'm an abstract painter and I paint quite large. And so some of the work that I want to give away would be much larger than what I can
Okay.
need fit in there. So I'm
Okay, other questions?
Just have this inside your building, your regular building? I mean, if you're only gonna have it open when you're there, can't you just take this thing and put it in the building? And when the people come in, then their kids can look at it? I mean, does it specifically have to be outside? That's a question.
room for that. So that's kind of the novelty of it, that a child walking by can take a piece of art out himself and carry it home.
Is that something that's easy to put back into your building?
We missed that, I'm sorry.
Is it easy to put it back into the building? We missed your reply.
We missed your question. You broke up real bad.
Okay, is it easy to move this structure back into your building?
We will, can we record you ask it one more time? You broke up again. This is horrible.
If it was easy to move the structure back into the building.
Can you type that into the chat?
That's what the wheels are for, and the doors are wide enough that it can be pushed into the building. Time to time. Yeah. It may be a very seasonal thing. There's no point in it being out there in the time because kids aren't walking here.
So if this was treated more like a sandwich board, rolled out when you're there and put away when you leave, or would that make any sense?
It may make sense if I what you said, but I didn't hear a thing you said. Try it again, please.
Is it possible that you just put it away every night when you go home?
Could somebody repeat that? Because
Okay, I put it in the chat box.
it keeps breaking idle.
Can you open your chat box?
So over on the side of the screen, there should be a column where it has the chat on it. If you exit out of the full screen, can you see that, Mr. Martin?
Well,
I think Jessica is calling them.
oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe she can relay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if you want to just stay on the phone, I can maybe relay.
Yeah.
Maybe even put you on speakerphone if that's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna put you on speakerphone if that's okay. 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 The question was, he asked if you could put.
This is awful.
Feasible to roll that thing in every night because I would have to stop and make complete pathway room inside the doorway to be able to push it in.
Did you guys get that?
Yeah.
Did you guys get that? Okay.
Did you hear my last reply?
Yes, sir, we did. I'm just waiting on them to say anything else.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions?
I still feel that there should be some kind of criteria that overall these things should meet. Whether it's this or another one somebody wants, as far as dimensions, size, location, safety. I like the premise. I think it's a nice idea, But right now, I just see a lot of potential things that could go wrong. I would like to see more of a cemented version of something.
And Mrs. Greenwood,
I have a Sophie's art, but I want
Mrs.
this.
Greenwood, yeah, we can, we're working on updating the code anyway, and we're obviously accessory structures is now a item that we're going to closely look at. One thing I thought of when you were going through your list was if we kind of differentiate between commercial uses of something like this versus non-commercial, like the art box, which would be something with a community focus. And the little libraries have a community focus. They're not a commercial, don't have a commercial function to them. So that's something we can add to the wording.
From a staff perspective, is it possible to grant something temporary while we're working on a final? Because I know right now it's summer, it's the perfect time to have it there. Is there a way to say it's good?
That'd be a Jessica question. And she's muted. Jessica. You're muted.
I was speaking to them on the phone, sorry.
Okay.
I was
Did you hear what I said?
relaying the information that you were stating, Pam.
Oh, okay. And Jeff had a question.
So
Did
she
you
was
hear?
basically clarifying the commercial update to the Article 14, the village.
I have a lot of free kittens I could give away too with each piece of art. We saw your town, it was beautiful.
So,
Yeah, Jeff, you could ask again your question.
sure. Question is it possible to do something on a temporary basis because it's summer and it's a great time to have this while we look for a permanent answer to the code?
Did you guys get that? Is that directed towards me? Or?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So, so yes, we could approve it conditionally, based on the fact that it'd be seasonal and that they would have to remove it, say in fall or winter, and then they could replace it back out in spring or summer. So.
And does that mean it has to be renewed or it automatically could come back out next year?
So we could do it both ways. We could state as a condition of approval. So we could either state as a condition of approval that it can be renewed perpetually, or that it would need to come back for approval. So it would need to come back for approval based on our new regulations or what have you. So.
Okay. I don't know if that helps or hurts, but that was the question I had in my mind.
I have a question. How do you permanently secure something temporarily?
Well, that is again the problem with temporarily approving something. So we don't necessarily want them to drill into the sidewalk if it's a temporarily approved structure.
So it would have to be fastened to the building.
Yeah. So I have no.
The question was, can it be secured to the building? Yes.
Did you guys hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Without that chain?
He said, Thad said without the chain.
Because I do not want that chain securing it to the building.
No, it would be secured separately from the chain. That was certainly a quick fix, so we could start giving art away, but it can be secured to the building.
Okay, that's great.
Okay. I can't wait for regular meetings to come back.
It'll be a while. There won't be a vaccine for years.
Big room, we can spread out. Okay, any other questions, any motions, any other action on this?
He thought about putting plexiglass down on the sides of it so you can see through it.
I think that would take away the structural integrity of it. She asked if you could put plexiglass on the sides of it so you could see through it.
Well, then you couldn't see the little free art gallery sign on either side. That would structurally change the look of it.
Right.
And it would cost a couple $100, and I'm trying to give something away free, not spend more money.
Anybody have any thoughts if we came up with something through the end of the year, allowing staff and everyone to review accessory structures, but allowed this to go forward as a test? And you know, right now is summer, it's a good time to have it out there.
Mm-hmm.
We can definitely put that into the motion if somebody wants to make a motion of that sort.
I motion that we make this a temporary thing for the summer and see how it works. I really don't know how to form this motion, but I think the temporary idea is a good idea. So I'm guessing a temporary permit to have them put the little library or the little art gallery out to make sure how it works, and then we can come back to it later. If anybody's got any other ideas, I'd like to hear them.
Maybe we could leave it out till mid-October while the weather's warm.
I think that's reasonable.
That works for me.
So the motion, I'm going to try to paraphrase everything I've heard. We'll see how I did. Would be to grant it to be in its current proposed location by the applicant, secured to the building with something other than the chain, and it could be there through the end of October, let's say.
I wouldn't, maybe not all the way to Halloween. Kids get kind of crazy.
Okay, so
You know, maybe
October-
October 15th, half
October
day.
15th. Yeah, I like
October
October
15th.
15th.
Yeah.
And then maybe by next spring, when the weather's appropriate, that will give staff time to help us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what Pam was stating about commercial structures will help us to have stuff like Mr. Landseidel is promoting, have items like that, not have the problem structures. So
So
There's,
do we have a second?
I second it.
okay, if there's no other conversation, we'll call for roll.
Conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Jackie?
This, I still think there should be criteria met, temporary or not. I still haven't heard how they're gonna secure it to the building. I'm still concerned about safety. This is on a public sidewalk. I like
Well-
art. I'm not for this right now. Have at it.
Okay, well, the motion was to bolt it, fasten, secure it to the building,
Didn't say
Without change.
right? Not,
Right.
about what?
the motion was to have it secured to the building, but not by chain, but to fix it to the building itself.
How are they going to do that?
Well, I don't know, a good trip to Lowe's probably. But I,
I'm not gonna say yes to something when they don't know, we don't know how they're gonna do it. Are they gonna hammer a nail in there? Are they gonna put some rocks up against it to hold it secure to the building? What? No, 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 no.
any other conversation?
So a motion was made by Mr. Camp to grant approval of case 2080, no, it's 2075, excuse me, 2075 for the accessory structure at 7 West Franklin in its proposed location to be secured to the building without the use of chains, and it will be temporarily allowed until October 15th of this year, and they can reapply after staff has updated the ordinance. This was seconded by Mrs. McGill. Mr. Camp,
Yes.
Mrs. McGill,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowersock,
Yes.
Mrs. Greenwood,
No.
Mr. Owens.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay, do we have anything else?
Nope, I believe that's everything.
Jessica, what about the
The
census sign?
library.
Oh, yes, the library sign, yes.
We do have something else. So Pam should have sent you a
Mhm.
sign earlier. So that's actually a sign that I designed for the census. So I am the head of the Complete Count Committee, which is a committee that was set up before I actually transferred to Bellbrook from Greene County. And that's to ensure that there is a complete and accurate count for the United States Census. So the census, every person that isn't counted costs our community $1,200 to $1,800 per person. So it's really important that each person gets counted because that money is used for the libraries, it's used for safety, it's used for roads, it's used for everything. So as a part of that, Devin Shoemaker, the head of regional planning, had this idea. He's like, hey, how about we put out census or political signs that have a census message on them? And I was like, great, I can design something up and we can have it printed out. And the county commissioners, they paid for the signs. So Elizabeth Whitaker suggested that we put some at all of the public libraries, and she has them throughout the county. And specifically, she was wanting to put some at our library. So I was hoping to get your approval to place the sign, one of the signs at our library since it's in downtown.
Very good. And so we need a motion because it's not political, it's not.
Yeah, it contains no commercial message.
Right.
Technically, non-commercial message signs are partially exempt. So it needs approval by you guys because it's not entirely clear. And this is part of the reason why we're rewriting the code, because what does partially exempt even mean? So normally that would be exempt because it doesn't contain a commercial message. So But we wanted to just go ahead and clear it with you guys, so.
Any questions? Yay, is there a motion?
I move that the census sign be allowed to be put in, is it in front of the library? In
Yeah.
front of, right? Yeah, in front of the library.
A second.
Other conversation? We'll call roll.
Are we ready to vote?
Yep.
Mrs. McGill made a motion to approve the placement of the 2020 census sign in front of the Winters Library, and this was seconded by Mrs. Bowersock. Mrs. McGill,
Yes,
Mrs. Bowersock,
Yes.
Mr. Camp,
Yeah.
Mrs. Greenwood, Chairman Owens.
Yes. Anything else? Okay,
Believe
Do you
that's
want-
all.
do you want to send a new one to me to sign, or do you want me to sign the one I have?
You could just sign the one you have.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah,
Okay. Very good. We struggled through it.
I don't know if it was the storms that went through earlier, because it's still kind of
mhm.
weird outside, or if it's the heat, I don't know, but this has been the most technically challenged one I've had in a while. So it's normally
I
been
had-
working a little bit better than this.
I had my fun, so I was okay. Yeah.
So thank you, everyone.
Very good. Take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.